If you'd like to go on the Austin Funky Chicken Coop tour, it's happening on Saturday, April 7th from 10 to 4. I think you'll be joined by thousands of others who are caught up in this chicken craze that is sweeping over the city of Austin and the United States. And joining us right now to talk more about the tour are Carla Jean Oldenkamp and Michelle Hernandez. Thank you both very much for being with us. I'm real excited about this. This is like one of the hottest topics right now in terms of what people are doing in their backyards, and that is raising chickens. I think it's really cool, and the tour coming up I think is going to be a great way to highlight what's going on here in Austin. Let's start off by just talking about the facts of the tour, though, Michelle. How is it going to be organized? Well,
the tour is basically the way you have open house garden home tours. It's the same thing, but for coops, and people open their backyards. We will have selections for about 15 coops.
Okay.
It'll be around the city in the Austin city limits. People will pick and choose where they want to go. They'll go get a map. The maps will be $10, and one map can be for multiple persons.
Okay.
And it'll just be pick and choose to see what you'd like.
Well, one of the coolest things that I think about garden tours is visiting with the gardeners. Now, what do you call somebody who's raising chickens? Chicken herder?
I think chicken owners.
Chicken owners.
We like to call ourselves chickenistas.
Chickenistas,
Yes.
okay.
The women do, I think.
Yes, that's very true.
And chickeneros. Okay, so when folks visit with the chickenistas, they'll get all sorts of insider tips about how to do all this. But I guess you'll have good geographic distribution, people, all parts of the city.
Right. We're trying to keep it, one of the things we've learned, we're trying to keep it densely populated so people can see more coops. That was one of the things.
So close together.
As much as we can, and we're reviewing them now. We have some really good entries,
I suspect South Austin is going to have more than its fair share.
South Austin and North Central, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Crestview, that kind of area.
Okay. We might be visited during the course of this interview by an exotic breed of chicken that's wandering around the studio right now. So just in case that happens, I want people to be aware what's going on. So let's talk more about why people are doing this. I mean, it is a sensation, really. More and more people are tuning into this as something to incorporate into their lives. We were talking about this just a little while ago. You were referencing your son.
My grandson.
Grandson.
And I think that it's important for the children this generation to realize where their food is coming from, but for that source of food to be a good source of food, and you can't get any closer than farm to table than having chickens in your backyard.
Right.
Exactly right.
Letting the little guy get out there and play with the chickens, feed them. I just love it, having him out in the garden and climbing trees, getting dirty like a little boy should.
Right.
So that was kind of my inspiration, besides the sustainability aspect of it.
Yeah, well, you know, there is that. There's this, you know, having food security, having a food source that's immediately available to you. But it's really a lot more than that.
It is. It really is. It's an experience. It's a gateway into what it is to be local and grow your own food and know your source of food. When you raise chickens, I think I'm yet to date see any of the coops we have not have a garden. Many have rainwater collection. It's a way of living, and it's a way of supporting, I guess, like I said, local food.
Right.
And also the cost, zero emissions, you know. You're not getting in a car to get there.
Right, right. So. You know, and they're not shipping the eggs anywhere, but you may share them with your friends, I would assume.
Yes.
That's right. You become very popular when you raise chickens and have all these pretty eggs, and people get excited to see what an egg from a backyard looks like. It looks very different than an egg you might get in a store.
Not homogenized. No.
True.
Yes.
Right. Well, we want to talk to people about how they can get involved in this, and kind of the basics, the chicken ABCs, if you will. And so let's start by talking about the things that are most important for people to consider. How much space do they need?
Well, mine have ample space. I don't know really the correct dimensions. Is it like a couple of feet per chicken?
Right.
Inside the coop?
It's as much as you can afford to give them, but it may be 2 to 4 feet per bird, depending on the size of the breed. Some are bigger than others, but at least 2 square feet minimum, preferably 4.
Inside the coop?
Yes, where they can go. And it's nice, ideally, giving the ideal situation, if they could get maybe up to 10 square feet to forage. But if you compare it to what often we find in more commercial raised things, having even 2 to 4 square feet is quite a luxury.
Yes.
Oh, well, compared to, yeah, the factories, you know, that's one of the things I think is really wonderful about this, is that you're getting your eggs and you're from a source that's not treating these the animals like machines. You know?
Exactly
right.
That's something that's real dear to my heart, is the whole factory farming issue. So this was my way of stepping out of that, being as a consumer and not you know, being a part of that. Atrocity is what I believe that
well,
it is.
It is. I don't think people will judge us as barbarians in the future for the way we treat
I know
animals.
that they've just passed some laws in the UK banning the
industrial
the way that they're treating them. They have to give them more space now and a certain amount of sunlight during the day and that type of thing.
Well, the coops themselves, we were talking about square footage. What are the basic elements of a coop?
First one is predatory protection, and I'd say the second would be your ventilation. And with our summer last year, I know everybody was putting mister systems in their coops. I was making ice packs, putting them underneath their laying boxes because hens were dying from the heat. You know,
that doesn't surprise me.
So you have to really keep an eye on your girls and your rooster, if you're fortunate to have one, in our heat. So ventilation and predatory, because everything wants to eat chicken. Everything and everybody, unless you're a vegetarian, then they like chicken.
Shade, food, water, the protection, as Carla Jean mentioned, is so vital. That's the part. If you get the protection right, if you build your Fort Knox, whether very stylish, very funky, whatever in between, the rest can fall into place with the ventilation and everything.
And I've seen some extravagant coops and some very basic ones, but the protection, I've seen double fencing with you know, really fine fencing is along the ground to protect from predators.
Yes. People use, you hear chicken wire, but it's not so good for actual protection against predators. What people might use is hardware cloth, which is the little quarter inch, and that's really helps keep them out.
And it has to be buried underneath the ground at least 3 inches. And we went ahead and put cement around the whole perimeter of the coop area. But not only what's wanting to go in, but what's above the hawks, you know. Or so whenever I'm out there with my girls, I'm looking up in the sky constantly because
they probably are
a lot
too.
of hawk attacks. A lot of hawk attacks. That's why I like having a rooster.
Okay.
He does sound the alarm.
Oh, he sounds. Oh, well, I guess the males are good for something, right?
Yes, that's And they forage for the girls and make their little cluck cluck noise when they find food, and they'll all come running. So
it's true. It's true.
They are.
That's one
a lot of fun.
Thing in Austin is that we are allowed to raise both hens and roosters in the city of Austin. Check, of course, your local your property restrictions, because there could be others, but at least the city at its level does allow that, which is great.
And there are all sorts of varieties. One of the things, I mean, some of the so ornamental varieties of chickens, really, some of them are so beautiful. People will have a lot of fun with that, looking at all those, right?
It's true. It's very true. And poultry shows are becoming more popular to go to, and there are many in the area. So you can see these varieties of these fancy, really gorgeous birds that you don't think of as a chicken, that are really good examples.
I went to my first poultry show with Michelle a few weeks ago at A&M, and I couldn't get over how many beautiful types of birds there were, and there were so many roosters, and the tiny bantams would stand on their tippy toes when they walked by.
Right. Well, I know that people are going to enjoy this, and they got a taste of it in the video, which I'm sure everybody enjoyed. It's austincooptour.org, and it's happening on April 7th from 10 to 4. $10 donation and gets you into all the coops.
That's right.
True.
Oh, that'll be a bargain. So thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good luck with the tour.
Enjoyed it.
Coming up next is Daphne.